It's Beatlemania all over again. Paul McCartney, Beatles, John Lennon, George Harrison. Paul McCartney's back with an album. It's a new album. A new album. He's back with a new album. He's back with a new album. He's back with a new album. Oh, okay, I understand now. I get it. The album's, it's called New. Yeah. So Paul McCartney's back with a new album, and it's called New. Huh. Alright. I get it. We take this. Alright. So, well overdue, guys. If you saw the previous one, I've been sick. And I didn't want to give you anything crazy weird to watch while I'm doing this, other than what I intend to be crazy weird, because why not? But Paul McCartney, New. It has to be reviewed. It's like music. If you're a reviewer and you don't review this album, what are you doing? I mean, really. So, let's do some history, because if you don't know any history on Paul McCartney, then what is wrong with you? That's it. We're going to do some history. So, Paul McCartney was born in 1942. He's an English singer, musician, multi-instrumentalist, composer, with, of course, John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. He gained worldwide fame from the Beatles. He had a growing partnership with John Lennon and is one of the most celebrated songwriters of the 20th century. After the band's breakup, he pursued solo careers with solo albums as well as performing with the band Wings. Yep, that's right. When his first wife, Linda, died, he fell into a Great Depression and ended up taking a few years off of music, but he eventually found his way back. And thank you for that, Paul. We really appreciate it. So, this man is hugely famous. He's 60 gold discs, sales over 100 million, and he's won the UK's Songwriter of All Time award. I mean, what else can you say about a guy? He's been knighted. Sir Paul McCartney. He is the guy, and he's still pushing forward and doing all he can, even in the modern times. Like, he doesn't have to do anything ever again if he doesn't want to. He's Paul McCartney, but he does. And this is a really good new album. Sorry. Spoilers, oh my god. It's a really good new album. For him to push out material like this at this age is really impressive. Seriously. So, alright, let's jump right into it. Paul McCartney is 71. He's 71 years old, and he's still kicking out this humongously powerful album. I think that it was an inspiration of the new marriage that he's a part of now, which I think that really helped him. I do. I think that he was really into it, and now his marriage with Nancy Chevelle is brought him to some really good feelings about things in life and music in general. And also the touring around with new material that he hasn't performed in years. He took the Beatles stuff on the road, and not like he usually does. He always plays a lot of Beatles stuff. But the past tour or two, he's played songs that he has never played before from Beatles stuff. He's played songs that he hasn't played in 30 years from Beatles stuff. He took Abbey Road, Past Masters, and just a lot of other things on the road, and I think that just kicked his Beatles creative spirit back into high drive, because this album is awesome. It's way better than the last few records from him. I think it's better almost the last 10 years of records. It's awesome. It really is. So, going from the bottom to the top, here we go. The album opens up with Save Us, which is a song that actually reminds me a lot of like 90s mixed with garage rock era. I think it's like if you take Paul McCartney and throw him into an early album from like the Hives, the White Stripes, the Strokes, anything. It doesn't matter. I think that he takes the influences of other music kinds and people that he's really inspired by, and he works with them on this album. And Save Us is a really good example of what awesome things can come of that. It's a great song. It's a wonderful opener. I love it. And Alligator is Alligator. It sees Paul at his most creative lyrically in a long time than he's been in a long time. It's like back in the Beatles days with Love Me Do and, I don't know, Yellow Submarine, Octopus's Garden. I know that a lot of those things were written by other Beatles, so don't criticize me, Beatles fans, I'm sorry. But I know Love Me Do was Paul McCartney. He wrote that one, so you can't yell at me for that. Anyways, his lyrics are just crazy importantly cool, and if you listen to it, he's talking about sexual innuendo jokes with alligators, and it's like, yes, Paul, yes, thank you for that. After that, he goes into On My Way to Work. It's an old school piano ballad that's pretty much talking about what Paul sees on a daily basis, like what he would go and see on a normal day in the life of Paul McCartney, and it's kind of cool to hear that, you know? A normal day in the life of Paul is just kind of a cool thing to think about, you know, not being Paul myself. So, I think it's cool. After that, we get to a song called Queenie Eye. It's classic Beatles. It's classic Beatles era Paul. It really is. It's quick, it's fast-paced, lyrically and musically. It jumps around everywhere. It's strange. It's fun. everything that we loved about the Beatles. Strawberry Fields strange, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club strange. It really is, but it's great for the exact same reason that it's weird. It's because some of the weirdness was the awesomeness. Let's admit that the Beatles' weird eras were the really cool ones. So, I'm happy with it. Queenie Eye is one of the best songs on the album. It's awesome. Following that, we get to my favorite song on the album. It's my favorite song. Early Days. It's this beautiful folk ballad about what Paul has done in the early days of his life and the things he's seen and what he's been through. And it's this huge history of Paul, and it's beautiful, it's awesome, and it's a cool story to listen to, just loving Paul McCartney as I do. It's just cool. I like it. It's a really good song. After that, we get to New. Yeah, the single. It's actually new. It's called Song is New. And it's really 60s, 70s pop. Like, if you take a song, make it pop in the 60s and 70s. And it's a really lyrically creative pop song, because you'll find that this whole album is very lyrically creative. It's Paul at his best lyrics I've seen him in a long time. Like, he's really into it to be interesting, which is awesome. I'm glad that he wants to be interesting and people to, have something to actually say. And it really does. New is another really good highlight off the album. It's awesome, seriously. After that, we get to Appreciate, which is the weirdest song I've heard from Paul. Not a bad thing. No, not at all. It's just different. I wasn't going to admit that. I wouldn't have expected this song from Paul. It's electronic. It drives into an electronic era from him, and it's something I've never heard from him, inspired by, say, like Joy Division or New Order kind of electronic, and also like elements of Blur, Muse, Radiohead, the kind of strange but electronic groups, Like, I know that not all of them have electronics all the time, but you can sort of feel what I mean when you listen to it. They have the electronics, maybe not as much Muse, but maybe current Muse. That's a mistake. Anyways, it's interesting and it's weird, and it's got electronic elements, and Paul singing on it, and it's just interesting. I like it, but it's not my favorite. But it's still a really cool and interesting song, and it fits on the album really well. So, Everybody Out There is the second attempt at folk on the album, and it's also a really good attempt at folk. He knows how to write folk songs, and it shows a lot here. It's more classic folk, which you'd think in the classic folk sense, like almost like traditional folk music. And it's awesome. It's a really good song. I love it. I'm going to say that a lot, because this album, I love it. So what do you say? But here's where we get to some criticism. Hosanna is the weakest song on the album. It is. It just fails in comparison to the other great songs on this album, and it sort of just feels like it was missing something, It listens well. It sounds good. It does. But it just sort of sounds boring in comparison to everything else on here, because it doesn't have the material that everything else does. It just lacks that spark, more guitar playing, I don't know, something. It's just not the same. And after that, we go into I Can Bet, which is an awesome blues song. Take note, Pearl Jam, we just reviewed you. This is what a great blues song sounds like. It's got a lot of interesting things that happen, and it adds even more variety to an already very varied album. It's cool. I like it. Looking at Her is the second and only other real fault on the album. It's a super cynical song, first of all. It's dark, it's not happy at all, and it's just really, I don't know, it's missing something. And this time, I honestly can't say what. It just doesn't seem to be as awesome as the other stuff, and it doesn't work as well. It's a good song, but it's not like the rest of the album. It just doesn't catch you off guard. I don't know. Road channels The Who, and it brings pretty epic arena rock song choruses, and that's where it ends normally. And I have to say, first of all, great album. I would give the normal album 4 stars. Here's why you gotta listen closely. Do not buy the normal album. That's right. Don't buy this one. Do not. Buy the Blue and Purple Lux album. Has 2 more songs, and they're both amazing, and it adds to this album to the much, as I would say, that turned out a slowly building rock song that changes pace throughout. And Get Me Out of Here is a slow, even country, beautiful song with a secret piano ballad on the end. Adds an extra half star to the album. I even think it takes the album onto my best of the year list, the deluxe version. So seriously, get the deluxe version. It's got extra stuff from Paul, and it's good. Alright, well, thanks for listening. Check out, the whole album pretty much. Recommending Save Us, Alligator, Early Days, New, Queenie Eye. Yeah, a lot of it. So, 4.5 stars for the deluxe, 4 stars for the regular. Either way, you can't go wrong. Thanks for listening. Paul McCartney albums. It's a good thing.